Hey there. Ready to totally crack the code on acing that insulating tube winder interview? We're going deep on this one. We're talking vital manufacturing role, using some really cool resources from RoleCatcher.
Career guides, interview prep, even AI analysis.
It's going to be good.
We're going to make sure you've got the knowledge and the strategies to really wow those hiring managers.
So it's like having a cheat sheet, but way more fun, right?
Way more fun.
You ready to jump in?
Let's do it.
Okay, so you're prepped and ready for this interview. You're sitting across from the hiring manager, and they hit you with that. Describe your experience with insulating tube winding. Where do you even begin?
Okay, so that question right there is your golden ticket to really showcase your practical know-how. So instead of just listing off past jobs, bring that experience to life. Dive into the specifics. Talk about the types of machines you've handled, the materials you've worked with, maybe even a particularly challenging project.
Right, because saying I've worked with fiberglass is kind of like saying you enjoy food. It's true, but it doesn't tell us much.
Exactly. Paint a picture. Did you use that fiberglass to insulate electrical components? What were the tricky bits? Did you have to master any specialized techniques? Details, details, details.
Because they want to know you've been in the trenches, not just read about it in a manual.
Now, let's say they follow up with, what would you say was the most complex two-winding project you tackled, and what did you learn from it? This is where you really get to demonstrate problem-solving skills and a willingness to learn.
Because anyone can wind a tube, but can you adapt and overcome when things get complicated? Speaking of which, I was checking out RoleCatcher's career guide for this role, and it mentioned that you can actually specialize in different types of machines or materials.
Absolutely. Some operators focus on high-speed winding, which demands extreme precision and quick reflexes because you're dealing with much faster production rates. Others might specialize in a certain type of insulation, like you mentioned before, fiberglass with its high heat resistance, or maybe PVC, which is really valued for its flexibility.
So there's actually room to grow within this field. That's pretty neat. Okay, back to the hot seat. Interview question number 2. How do you ensure that the insulating tubes are wound correctly and meet specifications? Talk about pressure.
Remember, quality is king in this role. They need to know that you are a stickler for detail and that you are not going to let any faulty tubes slip through the cracks.
Right, because a tiny flaw in insulation could lead to some major malfunctions down the line.
Absolutely.
So how do you convey that you're the quality control superstar they're looking for?
So when you answer, walk them through your process. Do you use specific measuring tools to guarantee accuracy? Do you double-check your work? Maybe even highlight a time you spotted a potential issue before it snowballed into a major problem?
Ooh, hey, this measurement seems a bit off, and you save the day.
Exactly. Being proactive and quality conscious speaks volumes. What you don't want to do is simply say, I just follow the instructions.
Because anyone can follow instructions. They're looking for someone who's not afraid to go the extra mile,
Sure.
right?
Right. And don't be surprised if they come back with, can you walk me through a time you spotted a quality issue with a tube? How did you handle it? This is where you really flex those problem-solving muscles.
Okay, time for a quick gear change. Interview question number 3. Have you ever had to troubleshoot problems with the winding machines? Let's be real. Machines break down, it's inevitable.
It is. And what they're trying to see here is if you can think on your feet and handle pressure. Can you solve problems independently, or are you going to be reaching for that panic button at the first sign of trouble?
So how do we knock this one out of the park? Another story time.
Absolutely. Describe a specific issue that you encountered. What were the telltale signs? Was the machine making strange noises, producing inconsistent results, or maybe even staging a full-on rebellion?
A tube avalanche.
And then walk them through your diagnosis process.
Did you check the pressure settings, the alignment? Maybe even consult the the machine manual?
Yes. And don't forget the grand finale. How did you fix it? Did you tighten a loose screw, replace a worn-out part, perform some other active mechanical wizardry? Whatever the solution, showcase your thought process and the actions that you took.
Now, let's say you did have to call for backup. You're not sunk. You can still mention it, but highlight the troubleshooting steps you took before waving the white flag.
Exactly. It shows you're not afraid to get your hands dirty and try to resolve the issue independently. It shows initiative, which is huge, a huge plus in any manufacturing environment.
And for the bonus round, they might ask, what's the most challenging machine malfunction you've encountered, and what did you do? Time to dig deep and recall a real head-scratcher.
This one's all about assessing your problem-solving skills under pressure. They want to know how you handle those moments when the metaphorical wrench gets thrown into the works.
So while you're reflecting on those moments, did you know that RoleCatcher's AI can actually give you feedback on your interview answers? And not just general feedback, we're talking tailored advice for this specific job.
It's incredibly valuable. Imagine practicing your answers and having this AI analyze your responses, pinpoint areas for improvement, and even suggest ways to make your answers more impactful. It's like having a personal interview coach in your pocket.
That's wild. Talk about a confidence
Whoa.
booster. Okay, what else we got for acing this insulating tube winder interview?
Let's imagine they ask. Let's imagine they ask, how do you prioritize your tasks when winding insulating tubes? This might seem straightforward, but they're digging deeper, looking at your organizational skills and understanding of the workflow.
It's like anyone can wind a tube, but can you manage multiple orders, deadlines, and those curveball moments when the unexpected pops up?
Exactly. When you answer, walk them through your mental game plan. What factors do you consider when prioritizing? Do you tackle rush orders first? Do you group similar tasks to optimize that production flow? Maybe you always double check with your supervisor if you're unsure about the order of operations.
You're not just showing you can wind, you're showing you can strategize and think ahead.
Right. And a specific example from your experience is gold. You could say, at my last company, we handled both small and large diameter tubes. I learned to prioritize the larger ones because their setup took longer, and any delays there could snowball and impact the whole production line.
Makes sense. You're thinking about the bigger picture, not just your individual tasks. Okay, brace yourself. Here comes a classic. Can you work well under pressure? It's like they can smell the fear.
Don't let them see you sweat. Instead of the generic, I thrive under pressure, show, don't tell. Think back to a high-pressure situation you conquered, maybe a tight deadline, a machine malfunction at the worst possible time, or even a sudden influx of orders that threatened to bury you alive.
Ooh, a tube avalanche.
Exactly. Describe the situation, the challenges, and how you navigated that chaos to emerge victorious. Did you maintain laser focus? Communicate like a pro? Did you pull a MacGyver and find an ingenious solution with paper clips and duct tape?
Well, maybe not duct tape in a manufacturing setting.
Right. But you get the idea. The point is to demonstrate your ability to handle pressure while still delivering top-notch work.
Because freaking out helps no one. Okay, we've covered experience, quality control, problem solving, prioritization, handling pressure. What else could they possibly throw at us?
Safety. It's paramount in manufacturing. Don't be surprised if they ask, how do you ensure you are following safety protocols when winding insulating tubes?
Of course, safety first. But again, we're steering clear of generic responses. I always follow the rules. Albie's gonna cut it.
Right. Use this opportunity to showcase your knowledge of the specific safety protocols for this role. Talk about personal protective equipment, safety glasses, gloves, maybe even ear protection if those machines are roaring.
And procedures for handling materials safely. Some insulation can be nasty stuff, irritating the skin or releasing fumes.
Absolutely. Mention any safety training you've had, certifications you hold. It shows you're serious about safety and have invested in learning the ropes.
It's like having a safety net for your career, right? Okay, here's one that might make some people nervous. Have you ever had to train or mentor new employees on insulating tube winding? Are they sensing leadership potential?
They might be. Even if you haven't formally trained someone, maybe you've taken a newbie under your wing, shown them the ropes. Think back. What techniques did you share? How did you ensure they grasped those safety protocols?
Did you create any cheat sheets? Training materials.
Excellent point. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about the materials themselves. What is your experience with different types of insulating materials? Is a common one. They're gauging your versatility and understanding of the nuances of each material.
Because not all insulating tubes are created equal, right?
Right.
Different materials for different applications, each with its own quirks and challenges.
Yeah.
It's like you wouldn't use a hammer to tighten a screw.
Precisely. This is your chance to shine. Have you worked with fiberglass? What about PVC? Maybe even heat shrink tubing? For each one, connect it back to projects or tasks where you applied that knowledge.
It's like, I've used fiberglass extensively in electrical applications where its high heat resistance and dielectric strength are essential. But hold on. For those of us who didn't major in electrical engineering, what does dielectric strength even mean?
Good catch. It refers to a material's ability to withstand high voltages without allowing electricity to flow through it. Basically, it's a measure of how well it prevents electrical breakdowns.
So the higher the dielectric strength, the better the insulator, right?
Exactly. And fiberglass, with its high dielectric strength, is a great choice for applications where you need to prevent electrical currents from straying where they shouldn't. You see, even in a hands-on role like this, understanding the science behind the materials is important. It shows you're not just mechanically skilled, you understand the why behind the what.
That's what I love about these RoleCatcher resources.
Yeah.
They don't just tell you what to say in an interview. They give you the knowledge to back it up.
They really do go above and beyond. Now back to the interview. Let's say they follow up with, how do you ensure that the insulating tubes are round to the required diameter and thickness? This one's all about precision and attention to detail, two qualities that are non-negotiable for an insulating tube winder.
Right, because even a tiny deviation from the specs could turn that tube into scrap.
Exactly. Highlight your process for ensuring accuracy. Do you rely on calipers to measure the diameter? A micrometer for thickness? Do you double-check those measurements? Maybe even mention a time you had to make a critical adjustment to the machine settings to achieve those perfect dimensions.
It's all about those tiny tweaks that make a huge difference. Okay, we've covered a ton of ground here. I'm starting to feel like an insulating tube winding pro.
Yeah.
What else do we need to know to conquer this interview?
Well, imagine they throw you a curveball. Something like, let's say you've got multiple orders for insulating tubes, all with different specs. How would you handle that juggling act? You know, they're really testing your organizational skills and your ability to multitask effectively.
It's like a real-life game of Tetris, but with insulating tubes. You've got to strategize, prioritize, and make sure those tubes are wound to perfection, even when things get a little crazy.
Exactly. When you answer, emphasize your system for staying organized. Maybe you're like a checklist champion, meticulously tracking each order's specifications.
Or maybe you've got a color coding system that would make a rainbow jealous. Or perhaps you've mastered the art of prioritizing orders based on, deadlines and stuff.
Right.
Whatever your method, paint a clear picture for them.
And if you're comfortable using, computer software or digital tools to manage like production schedules or wrangle inventory, shout it from the rooftops. Show them you're tech savvy and adaptable.
Because in today's manufacturing world, being comfortable with technology, that's a huge asset. Okay, here's one that speaks to the lifelong learners out there. What are some ways you stay up to date on the latest advancements in insulating tube winding technology?
Fantastic question. It shows you're not content with, resting on your laurels. Technology's always evolving. And to stay ahead of the curve, you got to be a knowledge sponge.
So how do you showcase that you're not, stuck in the stone age of tube winding?
Share your sources. Do you geek out over, industry magazines or lose yourself in online forums? Maybe you're a regular at trade shows, soaking up all the latest innovations.
Or perhaps you're an online course enthusiast, always eager to expand that skill set.
Exactly. The key is to demonstrate that you're proactive, you're curious, and you're always looking for ways to level up your knowledge.
Speaking of leveling up, I've been so impressed with the depth and breadth of information RoleCatcher provides in their career guides. It's like having a personal career advisor on speed dial. Did you know they also have resources on related fields?
That's right. So even if you're just dipping your toes into this vast world of manufacturing, their platform is an incredible resource. They can help you navigate different career paths and make those, informed decisions about your future.
It's all about empowering yourself with knowledge, whether you're prepping for an interview or exploring different career options. Okay, ready for one final challenge?
Let's do it. Hit me.
Imagine the interviewer leans in and says, "Where do you see the future of insulating tube winding heading?" Now, this isn't about having a crystal ball, but about showcasing your curiosity and that, you're thinking ahead.
It's an invitation to dream big. What trends do you see shaping the industry? What innovations get you fired up? Maybe you envision automation playing a larger role, or perhaps you're fascinated by the potential of new materials that could totally revolutionize the way insulating tubes are manufactured.
It's your chance to connect the dots between your current skills and the exciting possibilities that lie ahead.
Right. Don't be afraid to think outside the box and share your vision for the future of, tube winding.
Who knows? You might just inspire your future employer.
It could happen. Well, on that note, we've covered a lot of ground today.
We really have. From mastering those interview questions to exploring the incredible opportunities in the world of insulating tube winding, you are now well equipped to succeed in this vital and evolving field.
And remember, RoleCatcher is your secret weapon. Their platform is a goldmine of insights and tools that can guide you every step of the way, from crafting the perfect resume to acing that interview and, building a fulfilling career.
So until next time, stay curious, stay bold, and remember you got this.